Okay, we're about to go live with the interview, but I'm just going to play this. This is by Simon O'Rourke, and this is Simon's version of an AI song I did called Remains, where I did the poetry. Oh, looks like I've got a bit of trouble on some of the Facebook pages. We'll get onto that, but this is Remains.
How did we reach here where the view looks like the view I used to see? But somehow everything's changed. Everything's gone, yet remains. I went to the shops and the prices going up faster than I paid. Yet we're doing the checkouts like we've been demoted to slave. Somehow everything's changed. Everything's gone, yet remains. How did we get here? How did we go so wrong? Price we're paying, so weak when we were so strong. 'Cause I remember when you were here with me. We didn't know the answer, 'cause we was young and free. And our eyes were brighter, and our laughter longer. And I just wanna go there. I just wanna go there. Somehow everything's changed. Everything's gone, yet remains.
I have to say, I do love the human version, so I'm going to play that at the end too. Anyway, on this path, I met lots of people, and I'm going to bring on now someone who I'm incredibly fond of, who I've met along the way. And it's John Stapleton.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good. And so we've got a big thing to go through. Now, what I'm going to do is just give me, because we just came off another one, I'll just bring up the video you wanted us to play.
Yes, I'm not sure how that works with copyright, but anyway, this is from James Gleason. He's
I'm going to put up his got a banner here. So this is where it is. If you want to follow this guy, he's like a great podcast. We're just going to watch 3 minutes of this. Let's see in a second.
Legal compulsion under the penalty of 5 years in prison for 24 hours, released and prohibited by law from disclosing that any of it ever happened. A few months ago, I showed you how Australia's proposed hate speech laws could make what you say at work, in a private group chat or in your own home, a criminal offence. And a lot of you asked, well, how far can this actually go? What I'm about to show you makes those laws look like child's play, because the hate speech laws tell you what you cannot say. And what I'm going to show you now is what happens to people around you under Australian law right now, weeks away from becoming permanent. An intelligence agency can compel your husband, your wife, your children, your parents to sit in a room and answer every question put to them about you, about what you said, about who you know. They don't have to be suspected of anything. They don't have to have done anything wrong. And if they refuse, 5 years in jail. And they can't tell a single person it's happening, including you. That agency is ASIO. Those powers have existed since 2003. And a bill that has already passed through the House of Representatives is now before the Senate, expected to be voted on within weeks. That would make these laws permanent. and expand them into exactly the territory that the hate speech debate was always about. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how these two frameworks connect, what that combination actually means for you and me, for ordinary Australians, and why this is happening right now, while almost no one is watching. To understand what's changing, you need to understand where these powers came from, because the way they were created tells you everything about why removing their safeguards matters. September 11, 2001. The Howard government moved quickly, as governments around the world did, to expand the reach of their domestic intelligence agencies. One of the most controversial proposals was this: give ASIO the power to compel anyone to answer questions. Not suspects, not people charged with anything, anyone with information that they wanted. The bill took 15 months of parliamentary debate before it could pass, because it was genuinely contested. Labor's opposition was fierce. One backbencher from the inner west of Sydney argued that forcing people to speak to an intelligence agency without judicial approval was the kind of power you expected from authoritarian governments, not Australia. He drew those comparisons publicly on the floor of Parliament. That backbencher was none other than Anthony Albanese, who is now, of course, Prime Minister, and his government introduced the bill to make those same powers permanent. Now, I want to be clear about what this tells us, because it's not a political point. The coalition has supported this bill too. It's bipartisan. What it is a structural observation about how extraordinary powers behave over time. The politicians who most fiercely believed these powers were dangerous when they were in opposition became, when in government, the politicians most comfortable making them permanent. And that is a pattern worth understanding, and I'll come back to it.
Do you want to stop there? I think if we go too much more, so if people want to watch that is. Look, we did the quiz show the other night, and we came at it from a different angle. I said to Kelly, like, so say you and I were gay, and or both of us were gay, and I don't know which way you swing, and I vanished for 24 hours. You just vanished. You called your friends. Where's Michael? Where's my boyfriend? I can't find him. And then suddenly I turn up, and I'm a bit disheveled. I haven't slept, and you'd naturally be going, "Where the fuck you been?" And I'm not allowed to tell you. So I've got to come up with a lie to why I've vanished off the face of the earth for 24 hours. Because if I tell you, I'm in jail for 5 years.
Right. Instead of assuming
that's the reality of what we're going to be doing.
In the back rooms of Oxford Street, snorting amyl and experimenting with chemsex, as they call it, stay up all week.
That's right. I had a gerbil up my ass. I had to get it out. I didn't want to tell anyone. You know what I mean? It's just absolutely insane. And that's what I'm saying. We're in evil times.
I know. Margaret Jones, who was a former Director General of the Department of Security and Intelligence, the Security and Intelligence Agency, which is the oversight body for ASIO and the rest of them. When she retired, she pointed out that in Australia, you can go to, and said all these laws have gone way too far, that in Australia, you can go to jail for 5 years for breaching an order that you did not know existed. So some court makes an order that Michael is not allowed to broadcast on every second day, or you must cease broadcasting. You don't know anything about it. You do a podcast, bang, you're off. That's the end of you. And you can't tell anyone. You can't tell your partner. You can't tell your kids. You can't tell your audience. That's it. It's unbelievable, isn't it, this whole thing? This has been a long time cooking. It's been a long time cooking. And so I thought, seeing as you wanted to do this show.
Isn't this Gestapo territory, or like what was the KGB? Isn't this like KGB stuff?
Oh, we're a shocker. Australia's a shocker, and people don't know. And James Glisson, he's a really talented podcaster. He's a whole new generation. The whole new generation, know, podcasters who are really smart, very professional, very accomplished. He's a former policeman turned lawyer, turned police prosecutor, public prosecutor, a really talented guy, and really well spoken, and really his podcast, couldn't recommend more highly. Really interesting.
I'll put it we'll put up the link for it.
Yeah, it's
So
just great.
so we'll
Really
keep the
good
link on.
podcast.
Yeah.
And really smart, some of the stuff that he canvasses. He's been great on the hate speech laws. He's been great on family law. I don't know what you would make of what he. Yes, he's really interesting. Really interesting.
Can I ask you a
Australian
question?
Federal Police having Robert Smith arrest. That's him. He's really, really good. Really good talent. And there are a number of these guys showing up now that are really good talent. They're all, 30s or whatever they are, and they're really good. Scott, how do you pronounce that guy's name? Scott Zuku. He's brilliant. Michael
Can I ask
West.
you, if you were a journalist now, if you were still a journalist now, say in your 30s or 40s, and you got to ask the Prime Minister some questions about the ASIO laws, what would you ask? Apart from you fucking crazy, what would you ask?
About those particular laws?
Yeah, what would you? What was the question as a because you were a major journalist? What would you ask?
Oh my goodness! Why don't you repeal them? How can you in a supposed democracy uphold these laws? How is that even possible? There's quite a history to these laws, and they came about during the Tony Abbott and Malcolm Turnbull era. And there's a story I wrote, which you might put a link up later, called Who's Watching the Watchers? And that was, if I can find it here, and that was written. There's a long history to this, but it all charged up around 2015 onwards. And in 2017, I wrote a story called Surveillance in Australia, Who's Watching the Watchers, which, of course, because we are the most surveilled, as they say, a population of any Western democracy. And I said the biggest unexplored story in Australia over the past 12 months. This is almost a decade ago. We've fast forwarded now to this nightmare. But it's the point that I'm trying to make, and we'll go through some other material, is that this has been a very slow, but not so slow, but a long time coming, like a decade. And ASIO has publicly boasted of displacing both Muslim and anti-Muslim groups, such as Reclaim Australia, under surveillance. This is a new frontier of policing where people are being targeted not for what they do, but what they think. Essentially, people from both sides of the political spectrum are falling under government surveillance because they fail to agree with the government narrative that Australia is a successful multicultural society. And surveillance is widely criticised by civil libertarians as a tactic of intimidation, social control and harassment, with consequences including increased levels of aggravation, stress, violence and poor health. And any Muslim group that went through all that surveillance during during that whole heightened terror alert stuff, all of that is they all complain about this the heightened sense of stress that they all felt. There's a great book. They
just put your article up, John. So if you want to watch it there, could I put it on my Substack as well?
Which one? The New Daily one we're talking?
The surveillance one. Who's Watching the Watchers? I found it. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
So there's been a lot of rationale for this. I mean, but it's a sort of slow, whatever the rationale was in the beginning, the terror attacks and so on, they all got swallowed into this thing where everyone can be surveilled, but they know perfectly well that people, if they're being watched, behave in a different way. They're more likely to conform. That was if you remember the Panopticon. Do you know all about that? That was I think it was in the 1700s. They built these prisons with the tower in the center, so that the tower that they could see into every cell. So everyone knew they were being watched within the prison, which significantly increased the good behavior. That people, when they are being watched, behave in a much more conformist manner. And that's the theory behind it, that if you're being constantly watched, you will behave better. You'll be more conformist. Yeah, you just dance around the kitchen with nothing on if you think nobody's watching, and if you think somebody's watching, and see how differently you behave. It's
we were talking about this today with Kelly, and I was trying to find out different ways to communicate how wrong it is, how into our privacy they are. And I said many young people, especially girls, write diaries when they're young. And in that diary is all their anxiety, their hopes for love, their concerns about their looks, and all these other things, their relationships with their parents, and all this stuff. And if you think that privacy doesn't matter, try to think back when you had that diary and what you would feel like if you came in, you found your brother reading it. You would lose your shit. And so I don't understand why people aren't losing their shit now, you know.
Have you read that book, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism? That's a great book.
No.
Yeah, brilliant book. Maybe you could find it on Amazon, or do you want me to send you the link? Anyway, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism by a American academic was a classic of the time. And she went through this whole thing, how you basically, all this material that you're talking about can't be erased. And they passed legislation in the EU, the right to disappear, or the right to have your online record erased, but in almost all cases it's never erased, and it remains there forever and ever. Amen. So it's it is. Facebook knows if a woman is pregnant before she does. It's incredible technology. So they know. They start marketing all the baby clothes and things, and then she realizes that she's pregnant, and away it goes. It's insane technology, and that is people don't understand that the Facebook messaging that we know, which is just the surface thing, it's just the surface. That it's a huge advertising platform that makes enormous amounts of money by advertising, and we only get the little free bit. It's also a huge military contracts and all the rest of it. So it's not the harmless little plaything that we always thought it was. How cute, and look at the cats and all the cat stories, or the gay boys carrying on like mad chooks as they do sometimes, or whatever. You know, it's the fun side of it. What we thought of as the fun side of it, or the trivial, stupid side of it, has a really dark side to it. There's a story that I wrote to this. You were just talking about Facebook before, that you had some problems with Facebook. What did you?
What I did is they've got me on a restriction, and I was talking to an AI bot today to say, how do I get rid of this restriction? And the AI bot said, that's strange. You've got no marks against you at all. So why should you have a restriction? It didn't understand. And then it wanted to get off. Then it was like, oh, well, I can't do anything about this. And the bot took off. So I've got a restriction, even though my page has no penalties. And I can show it actually says there's not. I'll see if I can bring it up and do a snapshot and show you, because it's, I found that really interesting.
Right.
And you can't contact Facebook. You can't contact them.
Oh, you try. It's like trying to contact Google. Good luck with that. No chance. No chance whatsoever. I've just emailed you a story that I wrote called "The Rise of Ultranationalism," and that and the Facebook sites of discontent. This is a long history. It dates back, particularly focused on the anti mass migration riots of the more than a decade ago, and it shows the absolute collusion between the Australian government and Facebook, amongst the other agencies. But it focused on it just focused on mostly the anti-immigration mobs to begin with, the True Blue mob. The True Blue mob, freedom takes many forms. The excessive legislation manipulation of Australian media has helped propel the rise of citizen journalism. A number of small, generally left-leaning online publications, numerous anti-immigration or anti-Muslim groups were using Facebook back then as their main shop front, a place to promote their beliefs and attract numbers. members. They included No Sharia, I never pronounced that right, No Sharia Australia, Reclaim Australia, Stop the Mosques Australia, and Fair Dinkum Mate. The True Blue mob was another lot. There is also a Dodge and Cast cycle act, including Blair.
Good news,
Sorry?
no violations to show. So I've got no violations, but they have issues. So I've got restrictions, even though I've done nothing wrong. And our Facebook, just our 2 Facebook pages, reach 4 million a month. 6 with the others. Yep.
When I did that first story, when they hit around 100,000, which I think you had a similar experience, when you hit around 100,000, you just chopped off the neck. Doesn't matter that you spent years building up that following, that you have a really dedicated following, that you're not breaching any local laws, whatever, because you're running against the government narrative that we're the most successful multicultural society on earth. Give it a rest. But that's the claim, and that's been the repeated. Safe and effective, cheap and reliable. The most successful multicultural country on earth. When do the lies stop, Michael? I can't believe it.
I don't know. When do the lies stop? That's such a great question.
So this has been
really. Can I show you how crazy it is? The head of the central bank in Europe has just said yesterday that there's going to be food rationing in the southern hemisphere. So she must mean South Africa and us, because of the lack of fuel and the lack of fertilizer. So she's basically, in a politically correct way, saying we're looking at a famine. We could actually be faced with a famine. Australia, with all this farmland, we could be looking at a famine. And yet in Western Australia, just yesterday or the day before, they've said, we've got a fruit fly that we found in South Perth. So for like 7 suburbs around there, I think, or something like that, they want all your vegetable gardens ripped out, all your fruit trees taken down.
Because of fruit fly.
We're facing a famine, and they want people's food that they're growing in suburbia to be removed, and we're facing a famine. How is that possible? Surely you'd be the other way. Plant vegetables now.
Yeah, they were trying to pass, I think they did pass legislation in Melbourne banning vegetable gardens.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. Yeah, I don't know how they're managing it, but that's where we're at. We've got our own government telling us not to grow food, even though it's clear that we could face a famine.
All right. If you talk to, they've been successful in this "Don't Panic" campaign. I've asked a number of people, are we going to run out of petrol? Nah, mate. Nah. Talk. But then if you listen to some of the overseas things, they're saying Australia is at the end of the line. We've got 12 days worth of diesel, and then and that's it. And then it becomes that old thing of there's 3 days between civilization and total chaos. If you cut off people's electricity 3 days later with no fridges working, not able to go anywhere, bang, it turns into absolute chaos. It turns into a Lord of the Flies situation where they're all tearing each other apart. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So I just wanted to go back to this Facebook banning and so on. So it's been unbelievable. ASIO particularly wanted the plethora of far-right groups, because we can't. This was a sort of a shift away from targeting Muslims, and it was upsetting because so many politicians now rely on the Muslim vote, particularly in Western Sydney. So they were very keen to make it spread out from just Muslim groups. And ASIO particularly wanted and made it very public that they wanted the plethora of far-right groups, as they called them, including the United Patriots Front and the True Blue crew, to know they're under surveillance. Now, people like Blair Cottrell, who had a huge following and was a very charismatic speaker, and he was a builder, so he spoke the tradie language, basically, and was very effective. He was, suffered the usual law, torn apart by lawyers and government prosecution, and so death by lawyers. The groups and their spin-off sites are all were all highly active on social media, and their hot button issue was multiculturalism and Muslim migration, and they regarded Pauline Hanson as a hero. The next most visible protest or confrontation, as the case may be, is the Reclaim Australia rally. Oh, sorry, this is some time back, but anyway, it's really interesting. I would advise anyone who was interested in all this and the conduct of the agencies within Australia to read a book called ASIO, The Enemy Within, which you can still get on Amazon. It was written by a barrister. He's elderly now, and his wife passed away. So I'm not sure even if he's still alive, but because he was elderly by the time he wrote the book. It's called ASIO, The Enemy Within. His particular specialty was defending people who the agency had crucified. Basically, their specialty was destroying people's careers, and they were good at it. And people don't realise the power that they had to, to get a job at the post office. You had to have ASIO clearance. ASIO has clearly had people, the intelligence agencies have clearly had people within the mainstream media in Australia, anyone who's worked in it for long enough would know that there were various people that were very safe conduits between major media organisations and the government. In the book, he describes the organisation as a parallel secret police force which has done enormous damage to Australian democracy. Mr. Tubbs escaped of a rogue institution, quote unquote, and of the generations of politicians on both left and right who had not just let it happen, but had failed to warn the public. Political leaders surreptitiously, you can do that better than me, created an atmosphere of fear within society, he claims, and increased the power and reach of ASIO until it effectively became a huge national network of secret political police that spied on political parties, unions, community organisations, and individuals. And there's very few books written about this. My ASIO File by Meredith Bergman was one of the great books on this subject, and they went through the various people that were famous in the day, some of the, what was her name, some of the early feminists, Germaine Greer, and they all came under the attention of the intelligence agencies, and they were, advocating the radical idea of freedom of women, and all this sort of thing. All the early gay activists came under the same sort of attention.
Yeah.
Mind-blowing, this level that has gone on now, of course. Oh, dear, where are we at? What a mess it is.
We just had a comment come through. I'll just read this comment. This is from Rex Kine. Hi, Rex. Inside the United Nations, radical left partisans are advancing a treaty that equates traditional values with some of the gravest crimes known to humanity. And the key vote is happening this Thursday, April 30th. If not stopped, your stance on life, family, and the male and female genders could be labelled a UN crime against humanity.
Oh, yes, there are all those people that people who disagreed with climate change should be prosecuted because they're endangering the planet and the health of the population. Yakety yak.
That's right.
And honestly, it's curdling the entire national debate. No, this level of skepticism about climate change now is, is going up, not down. Billions and billions of dollars of propaganda. Yeah. Does anyone believe anymore that these people look at where the money went? Follow the money straight into Bill Gates' pocket and a few others. But it's the same with multiculturalism. They've spent billions, literally billions, pushing this idea that we are, the most successful multicultural society on earth, and now it's completely flipped. Pauline Hanson's leveled up with Labor in the last day or two. What are they on? 27, 29% each or something, according to the latest Sky News poll. And that's trend. That's a trend. The gate's broken.
Yeah.
Well, Pauline Hanson as Prime Minister, who knows? Couldn't be much worse.
I see people going, how worse can she be? Because they're just saying that, they just do not trust Liberal and Labor at all. And Albanese, considering he's bringing in 3,200 people a day, I think, 100,000 people. We got our people, and let's be honest, it's our people who are homeless. It's not Indians that are homeless. It's not many Africans you see homeless. It's white people. And if there's still fuel, we want to do a short trip around the south of WA, interviewing, because the country towns are full of homeless people, and a lot of them have grown up in the town. They've lived there. Who are they? How do they get there? How do they feel that they're going to get back to actually living in a house, having a job, or running a business? Where is the journey back? Because the government certainly isn't paving a path for them to get back to anywhere good. And their prime minister, and he wore an orange tie, the same color as One Nation the other day. I've just never seen a leader so out of touch with his people, and yet he just won. He was just on Time magazine, I think, as one of the 100 most influential people in the world.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
He did.
Not
in Australia, but obviously the rest of the world.
But he's literally one of the most hated people in the country. It's just
absolutely.
Really, yeah, absolutely is. And but there he goes. Yes, unbelievable. So,
well, they don't answer questions. Look, the energy minister doesn't ask questions. You had that great reporter trying to grill him. He wouldn't answer questions there. We got Tony. Is it Tony Abbott or Tony? Which one is the migration minister? He brought the ISIS brides back.
Tony Burke.
Tony Burke. ISIS brides back. Because just thinking, what? And
did you follow any of that early story of the ISIS brides? They were no innocents. They were all urging their sisters to come over to, fight a good fight, sleep with a real man, a warrior, basically was the message. Come on, piss off that urban husband of yours and come and sleep with a real fighter. That was kind of the undertow to it. But they were not innocent in any way whatsoever.
No, not in any shape or form.
Those people will be on welfare for the rest of their lives, and their children and their children's children more than likely.
That's hilarious, Tony Burke.
Yeah, that's fairly standard, isn't it?
If that was the quiz, I'd give you a point, Leander. Yeah, that's right. It's and you think, why would he do it? Why he knows it's going to go against the government. He knows it's going to put the government in a bad light. It's not going to put him in a bad light. So why is he doing it? Nothing makes sense from a common sense, decent point of view. The only way it makes sense, if you look at it from, we're going to destroy the culture. That's the only way it makes sense.
Those memes now, how to stay in government, import voters that'll vote for you. And there's no one disproved that Financial Review report that 85% of the Indian migrants are voting for Labor. So no one's ever disproved that claim. So it's a massive boondoggle, if you like. They're importing their own voters, and it's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah,
I was we used to do so many of these little stories, cozy little stories about the Sudanese or whatever, and many of them are really nice people, like lots of them. It's just the sheer quantity of it and the absolute contempt that they've shown for the people that are already here. And interestingly enough, all this debate is happening on sites like yours. Macro Business is another one that's been really strong on this. They're all these podcasts that are all coming up as a whole new genre, essentially. Really smart, highly educated people. Macro Business is a great one. It's Onslaught. That's a really good site. I've been meaning to ask him on. James Glisson, I've asked on, but he hasn't responded as yet. That's Scott Kuru. He's a great one too. And they're all talking exactly the same, that this level of migration is destroying the country. It's having a hugely negative effect on people. It's destroying the goodwill that was here that we had towards ethnic minorities, a cheerful sort of get along, everybody got along, and all you had to do was work hard and say you loved Australia, and bang, you were one of us, sort of thing. And now it's gone completely down the drain, and I think it's leading to a really demoralised population that you've been invaded. You've been yes, it's like there was a war, but nobody told you there was a war, and you are now.
That's what I've been telling people. I put out a post, "Are we at war?" I put 6 points, and you look at the points of why we were forced vaccinated against our will, with basically forced to take a vaccine against a virus that couldn't kill us, with a vaccine that could.
Oh, and so now
that. Then you go on to mass migration. Then you go on to we've got this oil refineries gone down now, just coincidence, but it's all leading towards famine. It's all leading, and another crazy thing actually. Tom Vogel was talking to me today, and he said, the 4 men of apocalypse, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, they're going through the things of what they're on. And I see if because I didn't really read this stuff, the 4 horsemen. I just want to get this right, where he said what order they come in.
Oh gosh, I should know.
This is, we read it today. Now, he and I are not like overtly religious or Bible bashers or anything, but we just wanted to see. So the first one is conquest, which is the white horse, and that can also mean pestilence. So that's the first one. The first horseman is the white horse, and that's pestilence. The second, the red horse, is war. And we've got Ukraine, Israel, and now we've got Iran. Is war. The next one, the black horse, is famine. Famine is the next one. And now they're talking about famine. What I think, though, is it's being engineered. It's not just happening organically. This has all been engineered. In the last few days, they've had, I think there was 10 or 6 or 10 oil tankers in Myanmar or one of those countries. They all blew up. They're all on fire.
Blown up by who?
They've had several refineries around the world in just the last few days. Romania, Mexico, India, Pakistan, Australia, all blown up. All caught fire. Big fires. Yeah, it's all on Twitter. And people are going, hey, look, it's all happening. And so who would have the power to do that? I mean, blowing up, who knows? But this is what we're seeing. Is it just coincidence? Or is it being a manufactured famine? I think I'm really of the belief, I've always held off, is 2030 real? But I think they do have an agenda. I think, how is it possible for Australia to have a famine? There's 28 million people. We've got all this farmland everywhere. There's no way we should have a famine. It's impossible unless it was engineered. We're standing on all this oil. Forget the shale. I interviewed an environmental scientist the other day. He said the shale that we could mine is off with fracking, is off the scale to how much we could get. And he was saying it's much safer than people know. So we have no fuel shortage at all, and yet we do. There was a company, someone sent to me the other day, was wanting to set up a fertilizer company in Victoria, employing 1,500 people. Victoria said no. So now New Zealand's got it. So to me, somewhere, it seems that they've said, no, they've got other plans for Australia, and the public, us, I don't know where we fit in, but this is happening. And I'm not saying it is real, but it matches up and it's manufactured, and it's scary. Now we're bringing in these laws from ASIO. So, this seems to be preparing to take out anyone who starts to stand up. And so, it's almost taking a lottery ticket to who will be the first ones they go after, the podcasters, who knows? But I think we're in really dangerous times when it comes to humanity itself. And then look at AI. I was telling you last night, I watched this interview with this young man, this young engineer, and what he said is I was flabbergasted. He said that if you engineer a bridge, you know what you're going to get. I need this much metal, and it's going to join this headland with this headland. It's going to bridge, cars are going to go across it. And that's what they're engineering. With AI, he says there's never been an engineering product like it, because even though they're creating it, they don't know how it works. They have no idea how it comes up, like you said, how it comes up with the conclusions it does. No idea. None. So how can they have got to this level where they've invented this little thing called a generator? And he said what it does, you type in your prompt, it changes it into mathematics, and then AI somehow spits back a correct answer. And he said they don't know how the generator works. So they don't know how it works. How did they create it? And so you're wondering, are we actually here with alien technology or something like that? They've got something, they don't know how it works, but I don't know. But he said all of the people who are working on AI, every one of them up there sees a future with no jobs for people and a future with hardly any people. And instead of stopping it or pausing it, they are frantically working on it. He says it's insane. And the other thing he said, which I've concerned about, he says people are going mad with this new psychosis where they believe AI is their best friend and they talk to all the time, and they banter with it and they talk. But they say a lot of people have been driven crazy by this, and there's suicides and this. So there's all these things happening. I don't know. We've got other people saying that AI is our connection to God, and we've sort of created a phone to God, and it's actually God talking to people. Here's where we are.
Well, it is supremely intelligent, isn't it? I mean, it's just, I don't know. I just use Grok, so I'm guilty of chatting to Grok. I just,
she thinks AI is an interdimensional human interface. If they only know 3% how it works, so 97% they have no idea what it's doing. So who's to know she's not right?
It's spooky smart, that's for sure. It's spooky smart and really interesting to talk to. I find talking to Grok really interesting, I have to say.
I know, man. I do. I try not to do it because it's too spooky,
Yeah.
If I write a piece and put it in, the review it gives me is like, oh, my Lord. And I'm thinking, no, I believe economy, but it's hard.
I completely disagree with Elon when he's saying that the best case scenario is that it'll usher in an age of abundance, that we'll all be, free to explore our artistic, inclinations or whatever. Now, there's only so many, we've already got that phenomenon where everyone wants to write a book, but nobody wants to read one. Everyone wants to make a movie, but no one wants to watch one. It's all that sort of stuff.
Do you know the obstacle towards that? The obstacle towards a world of abundance is humans themselves. There's
just go to any
people themselves do not want everyone to be abundant. People want, like we're watching with our Prime Minister now, and they want control. They don't want people to be free. They don't want people to be abundant. They want them to be controllable. We're seeing that across the world. Look at England. If you want
abundance, you take the hands off a small business for a start. If you go to Vietnam, where I spent a few months last year, the small bit, everyone is working. There is no social welfare net. Everyone, and they seem perfectly happy. Where I'd go for coffee in the morning, the little old ladies selling corn cobs every morning. Every morning, you think, how can she survive? But she's selling sure enough, everyone comes along and buys them. That would be against the law here, as would the cafe, because it was set up on the side of a street. The school next to where I was staying, there's it would be at least 100 people would set up each morning and sell those kids exercise books, pens, lunch, breakfast, whatever. So they'd all be there providing for the school kids. Bang, it's all really hectic for an hour or two, and then they're all gone. But as I understood it, the property laws mean that once they've own a place, that's yours forever and ever. Amen, and your descendants. It's
Wow.
not this sort of desperate attempt, because we're facing a serious issue with housing and homelessness and all the rest of it. All of it. It is interesting that all the major religions predict this era of time in history as the end of days. You know, whether it's the Falun Gong or the Muslims or the Hindus or the Christians, and that's a thing playing out in the Iran war nowadays. So that whole millennial rave, which you've probably seen around that you know, they have to bomb the third temple and all of that sort of stuff, and that's one of the driving forces between what seems like an insanely irrational war, is that they have to trigger these events to trigger the return of Christ, and away you go, which sounds like a conspiracy theory, except there's lots of people believe it. They really do, and a lot of people believe that.
Well, you know what that means, John?
What?
That means that if that's true, and that means that Jesus is already here somewhere. It might be because he wouldn't come out until he was, say, 20 or 30s. That's what he did in the Old Testament, apparently, or the Bible. So that means that he's somewhere. He's either in a refugee camp, or he's in America, maybe in a trailer park, or because if he's going to come back the same way Paul, or he's on a boat heading to England with, you know, he's black and he's heading to England with this, or I don't know. He could be anywhere, but he's here, and
I think the whole message of you know, God is within us all. You know, that we all have the ability. You know, all of that. So who would know?
The sad thing is, though, and another way of looking at it is a great story to make people not do anything, to not rise up. Jesus is coming. He's going to save it all at the last minute. So don't do anything. You know, we used to have people in the movement that said the white hats are coming. Don't do anything because the white hats are coming. After about 6 years, people realized ain't no white hats coming. But what it does is it stops you doing anything because you think someone else is going to come and save us. So I'm not saying it's not happening, but I'm saying the other argument, that the psychology behind it gets people to do nothing, thinking that some greater force is going to come and save us, where in actual fact, it might be us. I tell you, my view lately is Australia has had 40 years of abundance, 40 years of being a pretty easy country compared to other countries. And we've got a bit chubby, we've got a bit slow, and we've got apathetic. And now think of apathy like the barnacles on a ship. Well, those barnacles are going to be ripped off by adversity. And I think once they are, you're going to see a new Australia. Australians are suddenly, not all of them, but enough that might actually help us, where they stand up and go, "No, we're not living like this. We're not leaving this to our kids." And so I think there's things like that could happen. And the other thing that I'm going to start talking about now too is the rise of hate in Australia. People are hating, and you can't hate your way to somewhere good. You have to get past it, and the best way to get past it.
Who are they hating? Who are you saying they hate?
Oh, they hate the Jews. They hate the Masons. They hate. They're just willing to hate, and I think that comes born from frustration that they know something's going on. Just tell me who it is so I can hate them. But dogmatically, it stops them asking, well, what is actually happening? Because once you're hating, you think that's it, and you miss all the other clues. Where I actually truly believe that whoever's behind this, I don't know if it's aliens, I don't know if it's the United States military, I don't know who the fuck it is, but I think it's a better way to not know, so that you're open to the clues that are coming your way. Where if you just hate, then you just close off. You dogmatically hate, it has to be them. And I don't think it is, because like say with the Jews, people forget the Jewish Israel was the first country to get everyone vaccinated. They forced it on the people. And I was talking to Israelis then, we got a few through, and they were saying people are getting sick, people are dying. So they did it to their own people before they did it even to Australia. I think Iceland was next. You know,
And the data out of Israel was really early on, really showed that it wasn't working.
yeah, it really showed that it wasn't working early on. Yeah. And they still pushed on the rest of the world. So why would they do it to their own people? And this is what I'm saying is we've got to ask questions. I really believe if you were going to do something like this, really take us out, then you wouldn't tell us. Because if you're really going to wipe out the world, most of the world, you don't give a fuck about us. So why tell us anything? What would be better to do is to make sure you don't get caught, is to fill Google and X and all the social medias and even Bibles with red herrings that we can focus, oh, it's them, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. And instead of actually being open to try to figure out who is actually benefiting out of this, who is the beneficiary, what do they want? And I just, I don't believe the real person behind this has revealed themselves or themselves. That's what I think.
Yeah, some of the tech bros, we've got too many people on the earth. We only need about 500 million at most. And we've got, what are we up to now? 9 billion or something?
8 billion, yeah. Yeah.
8 billion. It's a lot of people. But then...
Yeah, that's right, Christian.
So, oh, my goodness. So, do we want to go back to this how did it all begin thing?
Sure.
Because I think that, if you just go back 10 years, what we're talking now, everyone is connected. But what is happening is kind of like a mass, that hive mind thing, which is one of the theories behind X, is that we're creating a hive mind. But if you go back 10 years, this was really, not everyone had a phone back then. Everyone now, virtually everyone, I don't know how many phones there are on the planet, but a bloody hell of a lot. And you don't have to be a wealthy person. I was in Nepal not so long ago in a really particularly little poor area there, or, even the kids that are begging on the street have phones sort of thing. It's just like...
the homeless have phones in Australia. You suddenly go past the homeless and they put out a brand new phone. A big brand new phone, they got homeless. So there's... I agree with you that it's all through Africa. The Bushmen, they all have phones. That's how they do commerce in Africa. It's all over phones.
It's incredible. So,
and why would the rich let us have these phones if there wasn't something in it for them?
For sure.
Even this satanic law, I just see Fiona Gabbard, the satanic law, they have to tell us. I don't believe that, Fiona. Where does that say? And if it's in a book, who wrote the book? And David Icke, people all say David Icke. If David Icke knows so much, how does he know it? And why haven't they killed him? Why wouldn't they kill him? Why would they let this guy run around saying, oh, it's reptiles, the queen's a reptile? He never said it's a goanna or a blue tongue or a snake. I don't know. But the thing is, why would they let him? I just think we should question everything in order to stay open to what could possibly be the answer. And if we dogmatically think that's what I know, then we're vulnerable.
So there's an amazing... There was a book about Australia called The Land of the Long Weekend, the Great Australian Days. And that's that insane apathy about Australia, which is a really thing as to why nobody cares. Why aren't people more angry about the shutting down of debate over everything from mass migration? Those hate speech laws are just mind-blowing.
Do you know why I think?
They whistled for no discussion.
I know. This is why I think Australians are apathetic. Pretend that the world is a jail. Now, in the jail, there are different jobs. You can work in the sewerage department, and that's, say, third world. You can work in the laundry. That's like the developing world. Or you can work in the library, which is pretty cushy, and that's us. And we're in the library. And part of us says, don't rock the boat or you'll end up in the sewerage department. Don't rock the boat, you'll end up in the laundry. We got a good wicket here. Just deliver the fucking books and shut the fuck up. I actually think that's our mentality. We know we're on a good thing, but the thing is, the days of wine and roses are over. They're getting over. So why would the rich let 28 million people just get fat and lazy and self-centered and narcissistic and full of all this useless bullshit while sitting on this most wealthiest mine in the entire planet. Why would they do that? Because they like us? Because they like Crocodile Dundee? Or is it because they have other plans for us and they just weren't ready for us yet? But now they're coming. Now they're coming. And now we've got hate speech laws. Now we're talking about famine, fuel shortages. None of it makes sense. None of it makes sense unless you turn it around and look at it from the other way, that it's all planned and we are not the beneficiary of whatever their plans are. Then suddenly things make sense. But if you look at it, how does we benefit from our Prime Minister bringing in 3,000? How do Australians benefit by mass migration? We don't. How do Australians benefit by having only 2 refineries? We don't. How does Australians benefit from sending all our manufacturing overseas? We don't. No, we don't benefit from any of this. The only people who benefit are whoever's pushing it. And all we have is these sock puppets. And why they couldn't find a better puppet than Albanese, I don't know. But all we have is sock puppets to sort of keep us calm and say everything's okay with your lisp. I'm just making things up. I'm just brainstorming. Yeah. I don't know this is happening. I'm just brainstorming.
Part of it isn't just we're all fat and lazy. It's the structure of government which has depleted any initiative. Lots of people want to start small businesses, whether it's selling hundreds.
Yep, they can't. The government stops them.
Can't do it. Yeah, I can't.
How do we benefit from these regulations? We don't. Businesses go under. How does Australia benefit? Having all its small businesses go under. We don't.
Yeah, I can't make a batch of Anzac biscuits and sell them around the street. That would be breaching some bloody health food law. They were going to, at one point, just recently, there was a move. There's little old ladies selling cakes outside the bank every so often. There was a move to go and inspect their kitchens because they were selling cakes.
Little girls selling lemonade outside their house. Lemonade, it's
can't be done.
Yeah.
You can't. And you talk to any business person, they're just tearing their hair out.
The gas in Victoria. Victoria is sitting on one of probably the biggest fields of natural gas in the world, and Dan Andrews comes along and says you can't have gas in your house. How do Australians benefit from that? We don't. And that Chinese guy that you like, I've been watching him. He said, and this is really terrifying. He said the only way cities survive is that power is cheap and food is cheap. Once those two things stop happening, people will have to leave the city because they simply won't be able to afford to live there. This is where we're at.
Correct. Jiang, Professor Jiang, Jiang. Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? He's been a real.
That's true, Ben, I know it. That's what I understand.
Yeah.
In fact, what Ben's saying there, just watch this now. This is the truth. I hate to break it to you, Michael, but they don't really care about his true story. That is the lie that is stopping people waking up. I truly believe that most people need to believe in their own delusional world that the government cares for them. That Albanese gets up and says, how can I help my fellow Australians today? How can I help them prosper? And they don't. And that's the thing. They have to reach some point where they realize the government doesn't give a flying fuck about you. In fact, it might actually be working against you. You might actually be in a war. Like Sun Tzu says, the greatest war you can fight is when the enemy doesn't know they're fighting. And we're the enemy, and we can't fathom the fact that those who govern us are actually at war against us. And it sounds insane, but look at what we're just talking about. They're stopping us. They're stopping us digging our way out of this hole. They're helping they're digging the hole deeper. They're pulling us down, and we don't have any benefits. And they're destroying our culture, and they don't care. With all this mass migration, they don't care. The evidence that they don't care is everywhere. That the hospitals, we should have no problem with hospitals. We're so rich, and there should be no waiting list. Instead, people are dying in hospitals because they're ramped for hours. They don't care. And when they did that when they did that Royal Commission into nursing homes just before COVID, they actually came out and said, we found out that they don't care. The industry is rife with neglect. And then suddenly they come out, we've got to save old people. Everyone get jabbed. Like suddenly they care about old people. And yet they had their own Royal Commission, which showed that they didn't give a shit. So they're lying and they don't care. But people can't give up that because it's so terrifying to think that our government doesn't care for them. But here's where we are.
It's amazing to think that, because part of this is a sort of knowledge system, that oh God, I've gone blank. It's amazing to think that Julian Assange, God, what's wrong with me? Julian Assange was talking really optimistically about the internet and the liberation that it was going to bring, and how it was going to really change everything, how it was going to turn the world into citizen journalists, basically. This guy, which is a point I wanted to make, was that Graham Dobell, who's a media analyst at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, a really interesting man, an interesting writer. And he wrote this series, this is like literally a decade ago now, about how, governments, and this would be, the Australian government, the Australian bureaucracy, politicians, bureaucrats, the intelligence agencies, none of them like or trust the media. We were always enemy number one. And he wrote a very entertaining, to me anyway, series about this called Defence Confronts the Media Age. And he was saying that, the Defence Department in particular, he was concerned about, but it's true of all the government departments basically, is that they always knew who public enemy number one was, and that was journalists. And they were really keen to control everything that came out. Now, as everybody got mobile phones, you can't just have a massacre in Gaza now because everybody's got a phone, videoing those messages to the world. So it's completely changed the nature of war. It's changed the nature of public debate. And he wrote optimistically, I think, I'll just read a couple of parts for you. The media age has been dawning since the middle of the 20th century. It's a tribute to the ability of the Defence Department and the Australian Defence Force to fight old wars that so much effort is still concentrated on the traditional foe, the press or news media. The fear of hacks reaches towards phobia. Not to worry, Defence, the hack world is unravelling at warp speed. And that's, by the hack world, he means the traditional media. And it's a really interesting series that he wrote a decade ago, and you can still find it on the ASPI, Australian Strategic Policy Institute website. The new media aren't so loyal to a single state. The media age changes the game in fundamental ways. Journalism and journalists will not disappear, but the digital comets have hit. The atmosphere has changed forever. New realities throb. Competing media realities rise. The mass audience is splintering, and the mass that was once mass media isn't going with it. The behemoths of the press are lesser beasts as their readers and markets dash away through digital portals. The digital disruption dominates. And that's what we're seeing now. The media age has grown to become a global reality, not just a developed world phenomenon. A striking arrival is the creation of billions of digital citizens. The mark of their citizenship is a smartphone they carry. Now, all of this looks primitive only a decade on because we're in a very fast moving period of history. But at that time, the idea that there were literally billions of digital journalists out there filming anything and everything, was a novel thing. And we all thought that it was going to liberate everything, new forms of art and new forms of dialogue. And in fact, the government has moved in the opposite direction to what Dobell and others were advocating, that, be fast, be accurate, be honest, be open. You can't hide anymore. You can't bomb a kid's school and not have all the, weeping parents and bleeding children and all the rest of it. It can't be done anymore. In fact, they've gone the other way. The mainstream media is more controlled by government than it's ever been, which of course is now leading to this exodus straight to podcasts like the work that you do, the work that Michael West Media does, and all the rest of them. There's a whole lot of really talented people coming up now. Look at Candace Owens in America, #1 podcaster in the world. Look at that.
Two Worlds Collide. So here's Two Worlds Collide. He's doing amazing work. He gets Shane Warne's son to state
that was
the jab
brilliant.
killed Shane Warne. That's journalism. And all the other MSN, they've just been covering that for ages, covering it, saying, nah, he died of this. They've just been lying and lying and lying. And then this podcaster probably never thought he'd be a journalist. He breaks the story. And the real story is, as a culture, we love Shane Warne. We saw him as an icon. This is who we are. You know, we're just easygoing, laconical, and also we're incredibly gifted. And yet we didn't let our hero die in the truth. I had to bury him in the lies. Even his family, I hate to say it, had to bury him in the lies. We couldn't even honor him by letting, he took the jabs and they killed him. That's the truth. We couldn't do it. And apparently when he died, apparently in Thailand, it was all over the front page news. It was huge news. They had, the whole flat was covered in blood. They believed he bled out. This is what we've heard. And we have seen images of it, but if you ever put it up, it gets attacked mercilessly.
And was the Thai press
trying to hide this lie?
Was the Thai press saying that it was the jab?
I don't know. All I know is that they covered. He bled out, and That
was my very first thought. The minute I heard it, I thought, that's the jab. Yeah,
everybody, and
healthy man, he would have been off, a bit of toot, and the girls in Bangkok. He was a lively lad, loved the girls, loved Thailand.
Why wouldn't he? And then they said he was caught with hookers. Why wouldn't he get caught with hookers? He had the money. But what was really interesting is I was in Victoria, and my daughter was there. That was my daughter. Then we were in a car, and she put the radio on, and this is what happened. They had these two journalists on. I can't remember what station, and they were talking about the death of Shane Warne, going, oh, yeah, he was on a water diet. He was on a liquid diet. He was on a liquid diet. We've got an expert coming in on liquid diets. And this woman came on and said, and she goes, yeah, he's an expert on, and she said, well, he was drinking a lot of chamomile tea. She actually said that on the news. And I thought, are you fucking kidding me? What, you think we got graveyards full of people that died of chamomile tea? You know what I mean? And then there's what else? There's what's another tea, Kel? Tea tree? Peppermint. Don't even go near fucking peppermint. Take you out in no time. I mean, this was insane. I didn't understand why chamomile tea didn't sue the bitch. Go and prove that chamomile tea kills you. But that's what they had. This is on the radio and people are listening to it. Such lies. What were they protecting? Was it really money, or were they? I actually don't think it was money. What I think they were protecting was this belief that the government is good and they need it. And the left can't give that up. They cannot believe that the government is bad, no matter how much evidence they have. They just can't. And
they've lost everyone now, haven't they? Have they? Or is
they've lost everyone because of lies, because we can see through lies. We're mushrooms. We're born in the dark. We're fed bullshit all our lives, but it makes us very good at discerning bullshit. And that's why they've lost us. They've too many lies. It's like trying to get back with a lover that's lied to you too much. You get them and I can't do this. I can't be here. You've lied too much. You've gambled too much, whatever it is. I can't get back with you. I can't. And that's what's happening with mainstream media. That's why Stefan Ovic has left. That's why some of the journalists now are trying to be really hard. Hey, look, we're being really hard now. Too fucking late, mate. Too fucking late. We've seen you kissing Albanese's ass for 6 years. We know where your lips lie.
Oh my goodness! Yes,
but I do think though that there's a chance of something greater. But we have to challenge this. I mean, look, Albanese won't even answer questions. He didn't even know what the unemployment rate was the other day. His country's going into recession. He goes, I don't know what it is. He's the Prime Minister of Australia. And he doesn't see that as an issue.
It's funny and extremely dishonest that he never mentioned before the last election he was ramping up immigration rates to record levels. And last month, according to the most recent stats, was the highest on record. whatever it was. 10, what is it now? 10,000 a week?
Well, over 100,000. It was 3,200 people a day. We've even got, I don't know if she's on here. There's a person on here, the Australian thing. She is, she's homeless. She used to be a teacher. Now she lives in a tent. She's doing her own thing from living in a tent. But even that, living in a tent, where can you live? They're moving people on. They're building, in America, there's so much homeless in America now that the Walmarts are putting in power and showers in their car parks because that's where people sleep. But in Australia, and we know because we live in the bus, they put fences, the huge solid fences that come down to car parks at 5, 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, so no one can get in there. 3,400 people a day. Thanks,
That's
Christian.
insane. And you've already got, what is it, 31,
It's only
32%?
insane from our perspective. From someone who's trying to destroy Australia, it's genius.
And why exactly would you want to destroy Australia?
That I can't answer.
And some people argue it's a spiritual thing, but I don't know. I think it's just, you know, it's incompetence rather than conspiracy. It's locked into place. Nobody knows how to stop it. They lied blatantly about it. You know, everything from electricity prices to how often have they said that they're bringing the levels down? But it never happens.
Constantly. And they never go. They just lie to us. They lie. Look at it another way, though. Look at the Industrial Revolution. Now, before the Industrial Revolution, the first Industrial Revolution, horses everywhere. Everyone had a horse. Horses, pulling carts, everything. Horses, milk by horses, everywhere. Working in the mines with the men. After the Industrial Revolution, horses are a hobby. Only for the rich or the wealthy. You know, maybe you got a farm. But horses, and so those millions and millions and millions of horses probably ended up in the glue factory, let's be honest, you know, because the corporations and the rich decided, well, we don't need all these horses and we're not going to put them on our farm and feed them because that's for our livestock. So let's make them into glue. What I'm saying now is thanks to AI, AI is the new industrial revolution. And I think the industrialists are looking at us, the bankers, and going, we're the new horses. We don't need these people.
We don't need these people anymore.
We used to need workers. We didn't need the horses then. We don't need these people now. There's factories in China that have the lights off. They operate in the dark because there's no humans in them. Amazon is sacking hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of people. The American, all the great businesses in America, the huge businesses, copying loads of people. Spotify sent an email to all its staff saying, tell us what you can do that AI can't, and you can keep your job. So Spotify is getting rid of a lot of people. Yeah. And this is what's happening. And it's making us irrelevant. And you know, did they keep the horses around? They keep millions of horses around because even though they didn't need them, they loved them? No. Business. See ya. I think somewhere there are business people and they've just made a business decision like say in Australia where there's a golf course that has too many kangaroos and we just say, let's cull some. I think it's just that. It's not personal, it's just business. And Australia is a huge mine, so they want to have this. Australia's going to be the mine of the world. And I think they're redesigning the world, or theoretically they could be redesigning the world to suit them. And the only thing in front of them in this nirvana that they're building is us.
Yeah, certainly during that, you know, epic and all that, people were saying we're being cold. You know, a number of people said that to me and probably to you that, you know, we're being cold. And that's how they felt.
That's what my father said. And he still went and got vaccinated the other day. So, you know.
Yeah, it's the biggest medical scandal in history. And people are still lining up for it. Yeah, it's extraordinary. And it's extraordinary. So have we done our hour? How long are we going for?
An hour 14, man. It's amazing. I can't believe you're not snoozing.
Oh, shut up.
No, it's because I inspire you, buddy. Get you going. You're a great conversationalist, John. I love having you on, man. You're great. Honestly, you're one of the great finds. Yeah. And let's talk too. Actually, let's bring this up here. let's bring this up while we're doing this. Let me go here. This is what John and I have been doing. Let's see, it's getting up here.
What are you bringing up?
Cafe Locked Out, the banned book. So I'm just going to bring it up here in a share screen.
We've got to get Jeremy up. Jeremy Atkin, who was on the other day.
Yeah.
But got to get some.
So here it. So here it is. Here. So John edited Goodbye Road. So everyone is read it. John was the editor behind it. He did a brilliant job. And now we have these others here. Citizen One by Paul Conlon. People love it. It's there. Australia Breaks Apart by John Stapleton, who's here. Radical Curiosity by Russell Story. We had him on. And we've got other ones here. There's other ones down here. The Jack books by Robin. She's a grandmother, but she wrote a great book. You Can't Say That by Melinda Richardson. And we're looking for more. And so what we're doing is promoting them because we reach so many people. And 10% of the book sales goes to Cafe Locked Out to keep it going. But the rest goes to the author. So you make, and I was talking to an author the other day, an Instagram guy, and he does these little proverb things like Loonig, and he was selling the books himself. He said he was making far more money, but then Penguin came and bought him, and now he said, I make hardly anything, even though so that's it. He's like, I've got the accolade of being with a big publisher, but I make shit. I make nothing from it, even though they're selling far more. So this is what we're doing. And the reason we did that is if you go back in your Facebook, they are deleting your past as you speak. Anything you've done controversial, go post remove. So they are memory holding you. And we think that the way to counteract that is to get stuff in literature, is to write. So if you're out there, everyone says they don't have a story. I'm evidence from all the people I've interviewed that everybody has a story. So it might be worth writing them just to get them down. So and then
writing history and deleting your past. You know, I got a post from 2013. I got this message not that long ago from Google that the post had been shadow banned, and I was the only person that could see this post. And I look at the post,
right.
and I look at the post and think it was a rave about why foreigners are fascinated by, in Bangkok, I was living in Bangkok, why foreigners are fascinated by the ladyboys. There's been centuries-long fascination by Westerners for Thai, the third gender, as they call it, or the third sex, and it's a lot of fascination. So I wrote a rave about that, and as part of that, at the same time, Tony Abbott had come out saying he was wanted to restrict mass immigration to 70,000 a year, which is now and I couldn't work out which was the most controversial, the lady, you know, why Westerners like ladyboys or the mass immigration subject. But it was nothing, you know. How can you rewrite history like that? Like a decade after I wrote it, and it's been up online for a decade. You know, like
this is what they're going, and this is what they can do now, because AI can go through. Where was that question for John from Maddie Max? I'm just going to bring this question up for you. But AI can do that. AI can do that in a microsecond, go through, find everything it doesn't like, remove it. Maddie Max would like to hear John's vision for a utopian outcome from all of this for the world. Best case scenario. That's a good hopeful way to go out.
A good hopeful way to go out. I think, you know, essentially a collapse of the mega cities and a collapse of the major governments, and that we all basically go back to an agrarian culture where you know, with all the technology, sure, but to, you know, get away from these mass platforms, which are, what are you laughing at?
Jason, call me. They don't call it Bangkok for nothing.
Well,
no, but go ahead, John. Sorry, I was just giggling.
Yes, I think so. Well, I was in Vietnam for 5 months last year, and one thing I noticed was just, in contrast to Australia, how happy people were, that they, you know, they were all really well dressed, very family oriented, very traditional. And very productive, and everybody is working. and the idea that you would laze around, on welfare, even someone severely disabled, half blind on a trolley with no legs, is running around selling lottery tickets. And if you talk to them, they're happy. They're out there. They're selling the lottery tickets and this, that, and the other, or they have their own stories. Or it's just really, I was so impressed by the cohesiveness, the national pride, the community pride, the family pride. You can see it in the way people are dressed. You go down, as we've talked before, the local mall, it's just like walking into some zombie nightmare. Whereas over there, it's all really sparkling. It's the amount of money that's flushing through that country and the amount of money that people have is amazing. You can go to some suburb and there's all these mansions. It's not like the poverty-stricken country that we think of it.
Yeah, that's right.
Past, and they were poverty-stricken till the 80s, but now it's just absolutely booming, and it's booming on all sorts of levels. On the civic pride, some of the infrastructure that they're building is quite incredible. It's quite incredible. The new airport that's going up in Saigon, and which looks really spectacular. All the infrastructure along the beach resorts and the roads and everything. It's really that country is absolutely pumping. Hard to believe we're at war with them. And I think somewhere in there is a solution for Australia. Nobody is encouraged to thrive. People are not thriving in this country.
Yeah.
They can't just, I can't make my little precious batch of Anzac biscuits and sell them around the streets. I can't have any idea for a business that I can't, the local baker here, used to employ 12 people. Now he's down to 9 and he's tearing his hair out, and the amount of regulation and the tax. And both sides of politics have been guilty of basically destroying all personal initiative, all, family loyalty, country loyalty, it's, it's a shame to wave the flag now. That's an embarrassment. You're obviously a yoko if you if you're waving the flag, all of this. Whereas you go to Vietnam, those Vietnamese flags are there from one end of the country to the other. So we've lost pride in ourselves, pride in our country, pride in our community. And look at the state of the infrastructure here, the roads. This one just comes. There's two very wealthy councils linked up here, and the roads are like full of potholes. It's like, how does it make sense? We've lost all that pride. So
that's right. And that's right. We have one of our podcasters, Wayne, says he just wants a country where his children are proud to be Australians, which they're currently not. No, they're not.
And everybody knows. Everybody knows. Look at the NDIS, massive rorting that goes on, and nobody feels like their taxes are being well spent. Everybody, the social contract is broken. There's nobody feels like their taxes are being well spent, that their interests are being Not at all.
Look what they sent money. They've sent 500 million or something, or some crazy amount of money to Afghanistan, to some village. I mean, we got people going hungry, and they're just sending millions away. It's the ivory tower is so high, it's staggering.
Anyway, Michael, it's been an honour to be on your show, and thank you very much.
What you're talking about is every Sunday morning, but it's great to hear your voice, John. You have an amazing voice. You have an amazing passion, and you got this. You're not dogmatic. You're not crazy. You just. It's almost like you're the person on the Titanic going into the bingo room and going, "We've hit an iceberg. We've hit an iceberg," and they're all going, "Can you shut up? I'm one number away from bingo," and this is where we're at. I think you're great. I love having you on, and the people love you. Everywhere I go, people go, "Why, John? What a coup you had getting him," and it's true. It's true.
So-
Even if you're teaching, I mean, there's people like you should be teaching us new journalists how to do it, or just inspiring us to keep going. I think you're, and to everyone, he was once homeless, living on the streets of a runaway, living on the streets of King Cross. He became a major front page reporter for the Sydney Morning Herald, then went through the Australian. He's done incredible things, and he's here. He's humble. He doesn't go on about it, but he is. He's a powerful voice for righteousness. I truly believe that.
Don't know about the righteousness bit.
Well, on a level, I don't want to get down to what you did underneath the sheets. That's your business. I don't need my heroes to be saints, you know. I prefer that they're not, you know. So yeah. Anyway, guys, we've got Marky. We've got Mark Mack coming on tomorrow. Mark. Yeah, he's a veteran. He's an absolute veteran. I know him. You might not know him, but he's a veteran. He'll be coming on tomorrow for a chat, and we might have something really, really special. I've got to pass it past Kel, and so anyway. But here you go. Look at this. You have made his day. There you go. I think he's mighty good looking too. So there you go. Look at that. There you go. They're coming in. Yeah, man. You're very welcome in the cafe, John. You're very welcome.
Good
We're going to go out with another legend. So we're going to go out with the song we started with. This is Simon O'Rourke. Now, I've watched Simon O'Rourke spend about 4 days in a back room here, pounding away at this song. He wanted to humanize my song Remains, and he's done it. So, and I filmed him the other day. This is him. So see if you can find it on our socials and share it. Because he's done an amazing job. This is the second one. He's also going to do Be Free, and he's got a range of his own songs, which are great as well. So we're going to keep pumping them out. But anyway, there you go. John Stapleton is a national treasure, I reckon. There you go, John.
Oh, thank you, Ben. That's really kind. Oh, my God.
Yeah, there you go. Look, we love your honesty. You know, good man. Thanks, John. Here they are, man. You know?
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, it's too late to be shy, isn't it? Oh, God. All right.
Anyway, I love you. And the other thing about the book club, if you have a book and you think, I can't edit it correctly, I can't get it that it needs to a publishing level, John does that. So if you really want to, if you have a book but it needs to actually be polished, John's your man. So get in touch. I think at the moment you're working for one of our doctors. He's got a book set. You're working on that. And he works really fast. And he's really good at what he does. You know?
The second edition of Ramesh Thakur, as we've had on, which we just published, that's just come out on Amazon. I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link later. But Ramesh, we've just done a second edition, which focuses on the Australian experience.
Well, the last time we interviewed him, he was pretty out of it. I wonder if he wasn't out of it. I'd even have him on by myself. It'd be interesting to have him on as a Muslim, because then everyone can say, he's a Islamist and a Zionist.
We're getting mixed up with Kaiser Trad, but anyway, we're talking about Ramesh, the fearsomely highly respected academic.
Yeah, sure. No worries.
Yeah,
well, they all look the same.
Ciao.
They look the same from here. Yeah, see you, John. Take care. Okay, guys, I'll put him out. This is Remains. And now I'll go and see if I can convince Kelly to do what we want to do tomorrow. Maybe she will, maybe she won't. But see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock. And there's another interview going up I did with a guy called Andrew, who might get up tomorrow in the next few days. Take care. And this is Simon O'Rourke. And you could really bring him up. If you like the song, give him some comments. But I think he's done a beautiful human job of this song. And the thing of this song is that we're living in this strange world wherever we feel like everything has changed, and yet around us everything stays the same, and it's fucking confusing. Here you go.
How did we reach here? With a view looks like the view I used to see, but somehow went to the shops and the prices going up faster than I paid. Yet we're doing the checkouts like we've been demoted to slave. Somehow everything's changed. Everything's gone. Yet remain. How did we get here? How did we go so wrong? Since the price we're paying, so weak when we were so strong. 'Cause I remember when you were here with me, we didn't know the answer, 'cause we was young and free. And our eyes were brighter, and our laughter longer. And I just wanna go there. I just wanna go there. Somehow everything's changed. Everything's gone.